My name is Maud, and I'm 41 years old. For many years, I've worked in the sales department of a trading company, climbing the ranks through dedication and hard work. Leadership has always come naturally to me. Even back in school, I had a knack for bringing people together and guiding teams toward success. Now, I manage multiple team members, and my sales performance matches that of even the most experienced male colleagues. The women on my team trust me as a strong and reliable leader, and that trust means the world to me. From the outside, it might seem like I have it all: a stable career, professional respect, and a solid reputation. But when I step through the door of my apartment at the end of the day, I am met with silence. No warm greetings, no shared laughter, no familiar voices. Just me and a space still filled with unpacked boxes, marking the start of this new chapter in my life. Not long ago, I made a life-changing decision. After 18 years of marriage, I chose to separate from my husband, Jake, and for now, I'm living apart from our 16-year-old daughter, Jenna. It wasn't an easy choice, but deep down, I know it was the right one.
Let me tell you why.
The family I left behind. Jake and I had a history that many would call a love story. We were college classmates who reconnected after graduation, and after dating for 3 years, we got married. At first, everything seemed ideal. He worked in the sales department of a printing company before transitioning into a self-employed web designer working from home. I continued my sales career while juggling the responsibilities of being a wife and mother. Our daughter, Jenna, is in 8th grade. She has always been smart and independent, but as she grew older, something changed. One day, out of the blue, she snapped at me. "I told you to buy the moisturizing cream." I had forgotten and apologized, assuring her I would pick it up after work. But her response cut deep. "You're totally useless." I can't believe it. At first, I chalked it up to teenage mood swings, but her words grew sharper each day. Her once warm gaze turned cold. The daughter I had raised with love now looked at me with disdain, as if I were a stranger in my own home. Jake's behavior shifted, too. He and Jenna became closer, but in a way that left me feeling like an outsider. They made plans together without telling me, went out for meals and trips without including me, and even started making financial demands that seemed unreasonable. And then, gradually, even Jake's attitude toward me changed. Our conversations became brief, transactional. There was no warmth, no shared laughter. Just distance. The breaking point. One Thursday morning, I made breakfast as usual, hoping for a peaceful moment together. But instead, it became the final straw. Jake pushed his plate away, his voice sharp. "What the hell is this? I always tell you I want my eggs over easy. Can't you get it right?" Taken aback, I tried to keep my voice calm. "There's no need to be so upset over eggs, Jake." But before I could say more, Jenna chimed in. "And the soup doesn't taste good. Didn't I tell you before that I hate mushrooms?" I looked at them, feeling an unbearable weight in my chest. This wasn't just about breakfast. It wasn't just about teenage rebellion or a grumpy husband. It was about respect, about being treated as a person, not just as a wife and mother who existed to serve them. At that moment, something inside me clicked. I had spent years excusing their behavior, telling myself that things would get better, that it was just a phase, that I was overreacting. But the truth was undeniable. I was in a home where I felt unwelcome, unappreciated, and invisible. I had given them my love, my support, my time, only to be met with indifference and cruelty. Choosing myself. Leaving wasn't easy. Walking away from the life I had built for nearly 2 decades was terrifying. But staying in an environment where I was constantly diminished was even scarier. So I packed my things and moved into a new apartment. It's small, and there are still boxes I haven't unpacked. The silence here is unfamiliar. But for the first time in years, I feel a sense of peace. I am not just a wife or a mother. I am Maud, a woman who works hard, who leads, who deserves kindness and respect. I don't know exactly what the future holds, but I know this. I made the right choice. And I'm ready for whatever comes next. The betrayal I never saw coming. "But they're good for you," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. I had always believed that communication could solve anything. So, in that moment, I turned to Jake, hoping he would step in and say something to our daughter, Jenna. Jake, can't you say something? I asked, my voice barely masking my frustration. But instead of backing me up, he looked at me with a cold stare and replied, "What do you mean? It's your fault for not being able to do a single thing you're told. And you're supposed to be an adult." His words stung like a slap. I had spent years making sacrifices for my family, yet here I was, being spoken to like an incompetent child. Something felt wrong, deeply wrong. I wanted to understand why everything had changed so drastically, but by the time I figured it out, it was already too late. One evening, I overheard Jake making vague plans to go out. This struck me as odd because ever since he started working from home as a freelance web designer, he rarely had any reason to leave the house. A nagging feeling crept into my mind. Something wasn't right. That night, I decided to follow him. My heart pounded as I watched from a distance, praying that my suspicions were wrong. But they weren't. At a cozy little cafe, Jake met a young woman, probably in her 20s, with a perfect figure and an air of confidence that made my stomach twist. I froze as I watched them chatting and laughing like old lovers. When they left the cafe, they walked out arm in arm. I felt lightheaded. My vision blurred with tears, and my body trembled with shock. I wanted to follow them, to see just how deep the betrayal ran, but my legs wouldn't move. The day I had always dreaded had arrived. For years, I had silently feared that Jake would leave me for someone else. I had struggled with my self-esteem, always feeling like I wasn't pretty enough, not good enough. Jake, on the other hand, was undeniably attractive, tall, charismatic, and effortlessly charming. Why did he even choose me? I used to wonder. Now, as I stood there watching him with another woman, I realized that maybe in his heart, he never really had. The shocking truth. I needed proof. Real, undeniable proof. So, I hired a private investigator to dig into Jake's relationship with this woman. Days later, I received the results. My hands trembled as I flipped through the evidence. Photos of them kissing, holding hands, entering a hotel together. The woman's name was Alyssa Farah, a 27-year-old employee at a cosmetic surgery clinic. But that wasn't the most shocking part. Among the photos, there were some that made my blood run cold. Jenna, my own daughter, was with them. Confused and horrified, I turned to the detective. "What does this mean? Why is my daughter in these pictures?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. His answer sent a dagger through my heart. "It appears that your husband's relationship with Mia is not only known to Jenna, but also approved by her." I couldn't breathe. The air around me felt suffocating. My own daughter, my flesh and blood, knew about Jake's affair. And not only did she know, but she supported it? How had it come to this? What had I done to deserve this level of betrayal? I refused to cry. Not yet. Instead, I asked the detective to go further. I needed to hear it with my own ears. I asked him to record their conversations. Days later, I received the audio files. With trembling hands, I pressed play. Jenna's voice came first. "She's seriously annoying. She can't even follow simple instructions and then tries to play the mother card." My stomach turned. Was she talking about me? Then Jake's voice came through, calm and calculating. "Well, she is technically your mom." Jenna scoffed. "Why don't you just dump her already? Mia has been waiting patiently." There was silence before Jake sighed. "About that, Jenna. I'm thinking it's still too soon to think about divorce. That doesn't make any sense. Mia has been waiting, right? I've talked it through with her. But I just can't stand breathing the same air as that ugly woman." Ugly woman.
He was talking about me.
Same here, Jenna chimed in. "But she earns more money than you. That's the frustrating part."
My heart shattered.
"You get it, right?" Jake asked. "Is that so? I didn't really know." "Yeah, that's how it is. If I divorce her carelessly, I won't be able to use that money anymore. We've got to play this carefully." I felt like I was going to be sick. They had a plan. Jake wasn't staying with me because of love, loyalty, or even duty. He was staying because he needed my money. And Jenna, my own daughter, wasn't on it. So, we just pull out all the money we can, and then let Mia move in?
Jenna asked.
That's right, Jake said. I need to check if Mia can handle that kind of life. If not, I'll have to persuade her. I shut the recording off. The betrayal, the humiliation, the cold-hearted calculations. It was too much. I had spent 18 years believing I was building a family, sacrificing for the people I loved. And now, I had undeniable proof that the very people I devoted my life to saw me as nothing more than a wallet, a burden, an inconvenience. I sat there in silence, staring at the floor, feeling like the last pieces of my heart had been shattered beyond repair. Moving forward, that night I made a decision. I would not beg for their love. I would not fight for people who had already cast me aside. I would leave, not just physically, but emotionally. I would walk away from all of it, the manipulation, the cruelty, the heartbreak. I deserved better. And for the first time in years, I finally believed it. The final straw. I think Mia will be fine. She's so understanding. Beautiful women are just different, you know? Yeah, I know. I regret it so much. The biggest mistake of my life was marrying that ugly woman. Hearing those words crushed me. That night, I stood under the hot shower, letting the water wash over me as I cried, deep, uncontrollable sobs. I had spent years sacrificing for my family, only to be treated like I was worthless. But as the water poured down, something inside me shifted. Enough was enough. If this was their plan, to use me and throw me away, so be it. I wasn't stupid. I wasn't weak. Instead of letting them take advantage of me, I decided it was time to take real action. The weeks that followed were tough. Every day, I pushed down my emotions and focused on my preparations. I kept my plan to myself, staying silent and patient, waiting for the right moment to make my move. Graduation day. On the day of Jenna's middle school graduation, I felt nothing. No excitement, no pride, no sadness. Just emptiness. Ugh, I can't decide on a hairstyle. It's so frustrating. Who gave me this face, seriously? Jenna groaned, staring at herself in the mirror. She looked just like me, a fact she never failed to complain about. Normally, I ignored her rude remarks, but what she said next caught my attention. Hey, I need some money. Around $500 should do. I frowned. What does a kid need $500 for? And isn't today your graduation? Obviously. I'm going out with friends afterward. And I'm eating out with Dad, too. I hesitated, but in the end, I handed her the money. This is the last time, I told myself as I did. Jenna snatched the cash without even a thank you. Then she casually added, Hey, I'm going to get plastic surgery soon. I blinked. Plastic surgery?
Yeah.
I'm saying goodbye to this ugly face that looks just like yours. I can't wait for a total transformation before high school starts. She laughed, clearly expecting me to be upset. Huh? I thought you'd be against it. What a letdown. I sighed. It's your body, Jenna. Do what you want.
Exactly.
You know what I mean, right? With a face like this, of course, I want plastic surgery. It's your fault anyway. Her words stung, but I had no energy left to argue. Later that morning, I drove Jenna and Jake to her graduation. But as we neared the school, she suddenly spoke up. Dad, and I will get off here. You can just go home. You know I don't want my friends to see you, right? I gave a small nod. Of course. I didn't care. I had no plans to attend the ceremony, anyway. My escape. Everything was going exactly as I had planned, and for the first time in a long time, I felt at peace. I returned to the apartment and waited. A little while later, a moving truck pulled up and 4 men stepped out. All right, we'll pack and move everything out. Given the amount of stuff, it should take about 3 hours. Thank you. I appreciate your help, I said. That day, I left. I moved into a new apartment, leaving behind the past, the pain, and the people who had betrayed me. On the dining table of my old home, I placed the divorce papers, signed and final. And just like that, I was free. Cutting ties for good. I had taken time off work and spent my vacation traveling to different places within the country. It felt great to have some freedom for once. Maybe I would have enjoyed it more if Jake and Jenna hadn't kept calling me nonstop. A few days later, I returned to my new apartment, feeling refreshed and ready for my new life. When I finally picked up one of Jake's many calls, he sounded nervous and anxious. "You finally answered. Where are you? What are you doing?" "Just relaxing in my room, watching TV."
Why?
"You sound worried. Did something happen?" "What do you mean? Did something happen?"
What do you mean by your room?
"Explain yourself properly." "There's no need to explain. You saw it, didn't you? The divorce papers. That says everything. No explanation is needed." Jake hesitated before speaking again. "So, you knew? About your affair?" "Yes, I knew." There was silence on the other end. Then he tried again. "I have no plans to end our marriage. You know, with your income, you can't support Jenna on your own." I laughed bitterly. "Tough luck. I'm getting a divorce. And I'm taking alimony, too." "Who says I'm going to pay alimony?" "We need to talk about this calmly."
Sure.
"We can talk. You can bring Jenna along if you want, but it doesn't matter to me." I didn't want to see either of them anymore. Before he could argue, I ended the call, turned off my phone, and cut off all contact. The final meeting. For our discussion, I chose a cafe, the same one where Jake had first met Mia. It felt like a fitting place to end things. Jake arrived alone. There was no sign of Jenna. She must still be recovering from her plastic surgery, I thought. Poor girl. Jake looked around, confused. "Who's that with you?" he asked, noticing the man sitting beside me. "This is my attorney, Mr. Thomas." His eyes widened. "You brought a lawyer?" "Of course. Now, did you bring the signed divorce papers like I asked?" Jake crossed his arms. "I told you I won't sign them. No matter how many times you ask, I have no intention of getting a divorce." I sighed. "So, do you just want the money? Do you really think we can continue our marriage for that reason?" Jake looked offended. "Who said I'm after your money? Where did you get that idea? You're making assumptions about my feelings." I shook my head and turned to Mr. Thomas, giving him a nod. He took out his phone, pressed a button, and calmly played an audio recording. Jake's face turned pale the moment he heard it. It was a conversation between him and Jenna, the one from that day. His own voice echoed through the cafe. "I don't want to breathe the same air as that ugly woman. If I divorce her too soon, I won't be able to use the money." Hearing those words again still made my heart ache. But this time I didn't cry. This time I was prepared. Jake clenched his fists. "A recording? What the hell do you think you're doing?" I stayed calm. "I should be the one asking you that. Did you really use the money I gave you to go out with Mia?" Jake opened his mouth to respond, but Mr. Thomas interrupted. "Actually, let's go over the legal side of things first." And just like that, Jake's lies began to crumble. "Just to confirm, you have no plans to divorce, correct?" Mr. Thomas asked. Jake nodded hesitantly. Mr. Thomas continued. "In that case, we will file for divorce through family court. We will also discuss how to divide the assets. The court will review the situation and decide whether the divorce should go through or not." He held up his phone. "This recording of your conversation with your daughter is strong evidence. In my opinion, the divorce is almost guaranteed." Jake stammered, looking nervous. I sighed and placed several documents on the table. "I came here today to talk about what happens next." I pointed to one document. "This shows how much money I gave you and when. This one is a record of all the utility bills I paid." Jake frowned. "Why are you showing me all this?" Ignoring his question, I placed another paper in front of him. "And this is a record of money withdrawn from our joint account. Jenna's surgery was expensive, wasn't it?" I glanced at the paper. "Eyelid surgery, eye shape correction, double eyelid surgery, nostril reduction, philtrum reduction, creating tear bags, cheek and nasal bone shaving. The total cost was $50,000. There's only about $30,000 left in savings. There used to be $80,000. You've spent a lot, haven't you?" Jake turned red. That was for Jenna. I can save up again." I clenched my fists, trying to stay calm. Do you realize that most of that money was saved up by me? I took a deep breath and continued. I'm okay with splitting what's left in the account as part of the divorce. And I won't ask you to repay the money used for Jenna's surgery. However, Jake interrupted. However, what? I stared at him, my voice firm. I expect you to pay for the emotional distress I've suffered. Keep that in mind. Jake opened his mouth to protest, but I wasn't finished. And one more thing. Are you still in contact with that woman, Mia? No, not really. That's what I thought. I pulled out another document. I hired a private investigator to look into her. You might want to be careful. She has a criminal record. Jake's face twisted in shock. A criminal record?
What are you talking about?
She was arrested for fraud. She worked with the director of another cosmetic surgery clinic to scam people. Jake's jaw dropped. What the? I crossed my arms. She must have thought you and Jenna were easy targets. My condolences. Jake's voice shook. And what about Jenna's surgery? Did everything go well? I hope so. But if there were any mistakes, we might need to negotiate with the hospital. We might even have to sue. Some clinics try to cover up their mistakes and refuse to take responsibility. Mr. Thomas nodded. Yes, many dishonest clinics deny wrongdoing and refuse to settle. If something went wrong, this could become a serious legal issue. Jake's face turned pale. I picked up my bag. That's all for today. Send the signed divorce papers. You can send them directly to Mr. Thomas, since I won't be giving you my new address. As I stood up to leave, Jake suddenly spoke. Wait, please, one last thing. I turned to look at him.
His voice was weak.
Can you lend me some money? Jake looked truly pitiful. I didn't say a word. I simply walked away. A fresh start. I can't believe I ever fell for a man like Jake. The thought alone makes me ashamed. I left the cafe with Mr. Thomas, not bothering to look back at Jake, who sat there in shock. That chapter of my life was officially closed. Life after divorce. From what I heard, Jake and Jenna's life quickly fell apart after I left. Jake's salary alone wasn't enough to support them. Keeping up with rent and daily expenses became difficult, and they had to move to a smaller, cheaper apartment. Jenna even had to take on part-time jobs like delivering newspapers just to help make ends meet. Jake's web design projects didn't bring in enough money, so he was forced to take on labor jobs just to survive. It was sad, really, but he had to manage somehow. After all, he still had alimony payments to make. I agreed to let him pay in installments because there was no way he could afford the full $40,000 at once. His small business barely brought in enough money, and borrowing from a bank wasn't an option. I could have forced him to take a loan from a shady lender, but I wasn't that cruel. A call from Jenna. A few days later, I got a call from Jenna. As I expected, the surgery had gone wrong. She sounded frustrated. It was a total failure. My face still has scars, and I need another surgery to fix them. It's the worst. We met at a cafe. I hadn't seen her in a long time. She still had bandages on parts of her face. And Mia? I asked. Jenna sighed. She disappeared. You were right, Mom. She only used us for money. She stared out the window, lost in thought. She looked different, more grown up, more serious. Well, I have to go, she said after a moment. I have work, and then I need to finish my homework. High school is really busy. Good luck, I told her. She hesitated, then looked at me. Mom, I'm really sorry for everything. No need to suddenly act all polite, I said, shaking my head. I'm not giving you any money. She gave a small smile. I won't ask for it anymore. With a wave, she left the cafe, moving forward. And that's how I ended up where I am today. I don't have many regrets. In fact, I'm happy with my life now. Jenna is practically independent, and I have no feelings left for Jake. He was never anything special, just a man with a pretty face and nothing else to offer. I actually saw him the other day, working at a construction site. He was covered in dirt, wearing a helmet, looking exhausted. His once charming face was tired and lifeless. I barely recognized him. Making a living is tough, and he's finally experiencing the struggle he once ignored. He wasted so much money, and now he's paying the price. Looks fade, and without anything else to rely on, life becomes harsh. I truly believe that now. As for me, I'm doing my best every day. The future looks brighter than ever. It feels like I've hit the reset button on my life, and I couldn't be more ready for what's ahead.